All right, so I am here with my current, I guess actually former client now, Mr. Anish, the man, the myth, the legend himself. You've been working with me. I'm not entirely sure how long it's been. I think it's like 4 months. Is that right?
About 4 months. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we started in March, late March.
Yeah, that sounds
Beginning
about.
of
So I'd like to talk about, like I just said before we started recording, basically where you were when we started, where you're at right now, and then I'd like to go through exactly how I got you from where you were to where you're at right now. So yeah, man, like what was life like for you back in March of 2024?
life was fine, but I knew it could be better. I was getting barely any action in terms of getting any sort of interest from girls outside of my small social circle. So most of the time it would be friends or in long story short, nothing truly romantic. Um, I was, fairly experienced in the art of talking to people just because of my job, but I didn't know how to assert my masculinity. And that part was sorely missing from my game. When I first started, it was a girl and I would meet. We would have a good connection. Most of the time, this would be in person because I wasn't even getting any matches on Tinder, Bumble, any of those things. Or whenever I would get matches, it wouldn't be the type of women I would want to attract. So when I told this to Kieran, he went ahead and asked and told me, how do you perceive yourself? And at that time, I may have given a bland or rough answer. So I'll go ahead and rephrase and how I really felt. I just felt I was very average. I felt I was just some Indian guy that is here and is somewhat Americanized, but is very much looked over in society. Just didn't feel important to anybody. And with that in mind, I kind of didn't feel important to myself at all either. Besides just going through the motions, I had a decent routine at the time with working out and doing all those things that you see most self improvement people teach. So after our call, he looked at my profile. He looked at my um, way that I talked to women that were interested whenever there would be somebody that I actually found attractive. And he noticed a lot of problems in terms of going ahead and the way I conduct myself and the way I talk or the way I carry myself and what that message truly communicates to the girl, which ultimately made me seem low value at the time. So, number one thing we did was we decided to take better profile photos. And from there, matches were fair before, but then they just exploded like 10 times more. Um, and for the guys that, are believing this to be skeptical, saying, hey, I'm an average guy, blah, 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 there are ways that you can structure your profile, even for the average guy, that can go ahead and give you that sense of high value. So once we went ahead and structured that, instead of messaging girls all the time, girls were messaging me. There was a pool. Most girls will usually not tend to message you most of the time, but there were quite a few with the amount of matches that I would get that would message me. I would also go ahead and practice some of the stuff that he displayed in his audio series and YouTube videos, as well as the screenshots that he shared on Facebook. And I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, but then he kind of gave me the mindset behind, hey, this message will be structured better. There's no need to go ahead and overly validate the woman in this situation and et cetera, et cetera. So when I started implementing those things, where my investment seemed lower than the amount the woman would invest, then they would invest even more. So with that, after that, I was getting dates. Some dates, were cool dates. That's pretty much it. I still got, a make out or something physical, but it didn't always lead to sex. But after the first few dates, almost every date after that led to sex. And just to kind of give a background on my lay count and everything, not going to go into details about a whole lot, but I was not getting as much as I wanted, and now it's to the point where I am satisfied. So in that sense, it is very, very, it turned out to be a great thing. It turned out to absolutely be a great investment of my time, as well as the coaching, and making sure that I had every tool that I needed to go ahead and just let my game talk for me. So after the first couple steps of my passive value being um, updated and just kind of improved, then we moved on to the actual verbal situation. So it was a very systematic way that we had moved, and end result was me being a better version of myself, and being able to carry myself with confidence and saying, hey, I am actually more attractive than I think. I am actually a little bit more of value given the way I carry myself. And he really gave me the perception of a mind of how a woman works and what they truly think versus what you see online with most of the red pill content or any of the normal dating content that's out there. So his way is definitely a little out of the box. It actually goes back to the basics of, pre red pill era, when pickup was something that was well practiced. So I would encourage anybody who's doubting taking the program to definitely go ahead and do it. And more so, especially speaking as someone from an Indian ethnicity, I know a lot of Indian people have a lot of anxiety built up talking to Western women, and every person that I have met from meet to sex has been a gorgeous Western woman. So it hasn't been, oh, she was a 5, oh, she was a 6. Oh, we kind of like gradually, these were good looking, attractive women that always wanted, my attention. And some, right now, I do have a consistent rotation of girls that want to come over and, enjoy time with me and things like that, and enjoy that masculine companionship. And again, I will also preface that even though Karen has given me the steps and tools, it is totally up to you to do the work. So if you're not willing to put in the work, then your results aren't going to be as good as you expect. So really, he gave me the game plan, he gave me the layout, and it was up to me to do the work, and the results came.
Gosh, that was literally epic. You basically, I know I said what we were going to do, but I figured I would ask you a question and then you would answer, and I'd ask a question and you'd answer. But you actually answered every question I was going to ask without me actually asking these questions. That was quite impressive. I do have one though that came about while you were speaking. You said that your first couple of dates didn't necessarily lead to sex, but something changed whereby you started closing those dates, and you developed the ability to take women home from a date. So what was it that changed, and how did I help you to facilitate that?
Ultimately, at first I was displaying myself as a very alpha, dominant guy, and all that's well and good. But one thing he had explained to me was start showing a little bit of that softer side of where you have experienced hardship, or where you were, a little bit sympathetic and empathetic and kind, as well. So it was a balance of being kind, being empathetic in in areas that needed it versus going ahead and validating and showing that empathy just to go ahead and validate yourself through sex. So the first thing was make the girl want it more than you. If the girl wants it more than you do, there's almost 100% chance that she's going to do it. And those things that Karen had taught me in the course was what led to that. Being able to convey in a story of how, I came from something of a lower sense, not necessarily self-esteem, but I came from rough background experiences. I've had experiences in the past to where women knew that, hey, this is a guy that has grit in him, has perseverance in him, has all of those things that the quote unquote subconscious mind of a woman looks for in a tribal leader. So, being able to be like leading other friends, leading situations, making sure to take the lead in an interaction, planning the date out and leading there, making sure that you show a little bit of your softer side as well. So that way you do seem very well balanced and a well-rounded person where it's just not one image that they have. They have more of a mystery and want to know you more. And when a woman wants to know you more, she's going to want to spend time with you. So that was the biggest game changer of, my first time that I was going on dates and it didn't lead completely to sex versus me even waiting sometimes on the second date to where the girl was ready and that would lead to sex.
That's very well said. So the last question I have for you is, what did you like most about... Actually, I've got two. What did you like most about working together, and what did you find difficult? What obstacles, what hurdles did you overcome over the past 4 months?
The biggest thing I think that helped me, and this is the uncomfortable part, I think, for a lot of guys these days, is taking criticism on the chin and brushing it off. There were things that Karen said that were true, that were harsh truths. And being able to digest those harsh truths is the biggest sense of self-improvement and and that's how you truly overcome insecurity, is to go ahead and come in terms and be in sync with your insecurities, and just control what you can control, because nobody chose to look a certain way. Nobody chose to go ahead and have a certain body type and things like that. There are things that, you men definitely can improve on in terms of body, but like mostly the looks and things like that, they can't really improve much on. So the best thing you can do for yourself is just to come to terms with your insecurity and move on from them. And that would be one thing that he really inspired me to go ahead and look within myself. There were stories that he would tell in terms of his background and just kind of where he came from and what made him where he is today. And, as a coach, teaching other guys how to do this consistently, which really gave me some perspective of, hey, if you have perseverance, like I said before, if you have motivation, if you're highly motivated to do something, then you will definitely do it. And I would say the most difficult challenge for me, and I don't know if this is for most guys, because I wanted the full package. I wanted the tens. I wanted the ones that you see on Instagram. So in order to get those girls, the way that Karen had mentioned was very different from what I was practicing. And most guys practice the cold approach pickup. Most guys practice the day game, meet, hopefully the woman goes on the date with you, then, maybe talking on the phone and then going to sex. But the most difficult thing was to go ahead and grasp a concept of patience with a lot of those hotter girls, because they get so much validation from multiple men. So, with that being said, it is very, very important that you know exactly what you want, and what you want or what you fantasize about what you want may not actually be what you truly want. So it just depends on how far you're willing to take this, because you could take this to a whole different level, of, from getting dates to going on double dates, having groups of girls that, all like you and recommend you to their friends, making sure that, that you are really on it with all of your confidence, because anytime that confidence wavers, any of those very attractive girls are not going to go for a non-natural archetype. And I do humbly think that I am not their natural archetype. So if you feel like you fall into that category, you will have to do more work, but the rewards are well worth it, in my opinion. So that would be the hardest thing. He had told me to go out, not go ahead and try to game these girls, and just become friends. And from there, things are going to happen that you don't expect. So there's different ways to overcome different situations for girls that are obviously very attracted to you or somewhat attracted to you. So it's a maybe to a yes. Then you can, yeah, definitely capitalize on them. But if you're going after a very long-term goal of having consistent, insanely hot women in your life, it is very crucial that you follow what he says. And that would be the hardest part, would be putting in that sort of work, because it's not just you go 1-2 times to, let's say, a venue and go ahead and game the hottest girl in the room and expect to bring her back. Very few times it's going to happen on the same night. So it's important for guys to get a realization of that, and making sure that you have a very honed in and focused approach when it's a lifestyle of multiple women you won over, and that the ultimate man, high value man lifestyle of having a multiple woman rotation.
All right, brilliant, bro. I have no more questions, so thank you for your time. This has been humbly appreciated. To the guy who is listening, there's in the description, there's a contact link that you can use to book a call with me. We can have a chat about where you are, where you're at, your sticking points, where you're struggling, and exactly how I can help. But to you, Mr. Anish, thank you. Not just thank you for this call, but thank you for the hard work that I've seen from you over the past few months, because it has been a pleasure to help. Because when a guy actually does what I tell him to do, when he actually follows my guidance, he sees massive benefits. And the truth is, that makes me feel good, because I like to see the guys that I work with excelling and soaring and building new lives for themselves. I love to see that. You will marry a different woman now than you would have done if you hadn't worked with me. That's a fact. There will be human beings that will be born because of the fact that I coached you. And if I didn't coach you, they wouldn't even exist. Well, if you decide to have kids, yeah, if you do. But still, assuming you do, it's going to be different humans. And I like the way that feels. So, yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you to the guys listening. And basically, see you.